2 hours after the funeral service ended, Amy found herself at the wake, hiding from the other mourners. She absently sifted through her sister's clothes, crying softly. She buried her face in Emma's favorite college sweatshirt and breathed in deeply. The smell of Emma flooded her with a lifetime of memories. 3rd grade. Emma facing down a bully who'd been harassing Amy. High school. Emma saving her from a drunken idiot at a party. College. Emma coaching her through difficult classes time after time. Amy's big sister had been her savior, her rock, her mentor, her best friend. And now she was dead and buried, murdered while jogging in the park. No suspects, no arrests. The funeral had been pure emotional torture. She squeezed Emma's sweatshirt tighter against her black dress, as if hugging Emma herself. She'd given her sister this sweatshirt several years ago, and it quickly became Emma's go-to casual top. They had borrowed each other's clothes hundreds of times since their school days, but Amy had never once worn this sweatshirt. Somehow that made it more special. She would ask her brother-in-law if she could have this one. She needed it. She needed whatever snippets of her big sister that she could salvage. She slid her hands in the sleeves. More echoes of times past rushed into her mind. Shared smiles, laughs, long talks, and something else. Nothing specific, just a sliver of unrecognized darkness. A sharp rap on the door jarred her out of her memories. Her brother-in-law peeked his head through the door as Amy slid her arms out of the beloved sweatshirt. "I miss her too, kiddo." Amy's jaw stiffened. That nickname again, she thought. Guilt immediately followed her gut reaction. Not today. Today is about Emma. Amy looked up at Bob, giving him a half-hearted nod. "I'm sorry for camping out in your bedroom, Bob. I needed to escape the crowd. Was just looking at some of Emma's clothes and remembering..." Amy's voice choked for a second. Softly, she continued. "Mind if I take her college shirt? It's pretty special to me." "Of course not. Take whatever clothes you want. I can't use them for anything." "You can't use them?" she thought. Amy again swallowed the annoyance. Bob will always be Bob. "Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate it. I'll be down to join everyone in a few minutes, okay?" "Take your time. I just came upstairs to check on you. Some folks downstairs are worried about you." Amy nodded. "Tell them I'll be down there shortly." "You got it, kiddo," Bob answered as he backed out of the room and closed the door behind himself. With a deep breath, Amy turned back to the sweatshirt. What was that darkness? Like a memory she could sense but not quite see. She pulled the sweatshirt fully over herself now, slipping her head and arms through, basking in the feeling that Emma would be closer soon. A tidal wave of emotion, energy, and memories overwhelmed her. She viewed fragments of argument after argument, seeing veins bulge in Bob's neck as he screamed at her. Wait, not her, at Emma. Amy could hear Emma's voice yelling back, could see through Emma's eyes as her sister stared at the clock late at night, waiting for him to get home. Mixed in were snapshots of herself and Emma and other good friends. More grins and more laughter. Again with Bob, a pretty woman handing them some sort of documents which the couple both signed. Hi something was all she could make out from the top of one of them. Then, jogging in the park, amid darkness under a burnt-out street lamp, the barrel of a gun pointed at her. Straight at Emma. The blast of the gun and Emma collapsing. Looking back up at her attacker as her breathing became labored and vision blurred, Amy could just make out a man's outline staring down at Emma. She could feel her fallen sister's pain and horror. The gun lifted again. Emma's eyes opened wide one last time before the man pulled the trigger. Just for one last second, but this time the man's face was clearly visible. Amy broke out in a cold sweat. More tears rolled down. Then anger arrived. Bob. Even worse somehow, her sister's husband had looked calm. No bulging neck veins, no screaming. just eerie serenity as he peered down at his bleeding wife and pulled the trigger. The vision of her brother-in-law faded as Amy felt her own arms curling around herself. She was not controlling the movement, something else was. The sweatshirt sleeves squeezed her arms tighter. Emma was hugging her. Amy sensed or heard, she never quite knew, Emma's voice inside her. Amy, my baby sister, you were the light of my whole life. You can't take my sweatshirt yet, though. Soon, but not yet. I love you, sister. The sweatshirt, Emma, squeezed her again. One last hug and one last request. As the sweatshirt loosened its grip and quieted, Amy lingered in it another minute, still shocked at the visions. She reluctantly took it off, folded it neatly despite shaky hands, and placed it gently in the top drawer of the dresser as Emma had asked. Her hands continued to tremble as she left the bedroom. She paused in the upstairs hallway to calm herself. Amy could still feel the sweatshirt draped around her and sense Emma's sweet aroma. Ever more tears as she felt the sting of losing Emma again. Not as before, but again nonetheless. Her mind swirled with withering sorrow wrapped in hellish rage. With idle mingling out of the question now, she eased downstairs and slipped out the door. After the crowd of mourners left his house, Bob poured himself a drink and plopped down at the kitchen table. A soft tapping on the back door. Bob walked over and swung the door open. "Come in, I'm glad you're back," he said to the attractive woman gazing up at him. "Hey, babe," replied the woman with a slight grin. "You okay?" "It's been a long week, but I'm relieved it's over and done." He hugged his girlfriend tightly, lingering in her embrace. "Come on in, let me pour you a drink." A couple of drinks later, Bob rose from the kitchen table. "It's been a long week, babe. Let's swap out of this funeral bullshit for something comfortable and relax. I've had enough of this suit for the day." She followed him into his bedroom, and he opened the top drawer to grab his hoodie. He was surprised by the sight of Emma's old college sweatshirt. "I thought Amy took this thing," he thought. He noticed that his girlfriend was still in formal funeral attire, so he tossed her the sweatshirt. "Put that on, baby. Get comfortable." "I think you might be kinky, babe," she said with a chuckle as she stripped her top off down to her bra and slipped the soft sweatshirt on. Bob snatched his hoodie that had been laying directly underneath the sweatshirt and pulled it on, grateful for the soft feel of the material against his skin after suffering through the stiff black jacket and tie all day. They walked back out to the den and plopped down on the couch. Bob took a long pull of his cocktail. Deep within his head, his dead wife's voice spoke softly. "Hello, Bob. Time to confess." Bob jumped out of the chair, spilling his drink as he looked around wide-eyed. "What the fuck?" he yelped. Next to Bob, the sweatshirt's collar began to choke his girlfriend's neck, lightly at first and then with more force. Emma's words seemed to reverberate around within her skull like a warning from the underworld. "I recognize you. Get up and leave my house right this second, you low-life, corrupt bitch." The last word sounded like it was spat into her ear. Emma's voice continued, "And don't make a sound. Collect everything you brought and leave the way you came in." The collar loosened slightly, and she looked at Bob in time to see the hoodie slowly become a straitjacket, squeezing his arms in a vice-like grip around his body. She whimpered but said nothing and ran to the bedroom to grab her clothes. She darted back and past Bob into the kitchen, grabbed her keys, and bolted out the door, the sweatshirt still dangerously tight around her neck. As she ran toward her car, Emma sneered into her eardrum. "You and I are going to be okay. We are going to try something." She didn't hear the next thing Emma said. She thought it. "Aren't you glad you came back?" What the hell?" moaned Bob. The anaconda-like grip tightened with each breath as Bob exhaled. Emma's voice again. "Time to confess, dear." Bob staggered toward the kitchen, but with no arms available to help balance, he tripped over his feet and smacked the carpeted floor. Through his panic, he noticed that the hood was sliding over the back of his head. In no time, it fully engulfed his hairline. But it didn't stop. It stretched over his face until it closed into a tight circle around the tip of his nose, like it was swallowing him alive. The hood pressed tighter and tighter around his nose and mouth, cutting off all breath. Bob's body twitched and jerked as he tried in vain to rid himself of the suffocating garment. After a few more seconds, the hood eased its grip on Bob's terrified face so that he could breathe again, and he gasped for air. But his arms remained plastered to his body. Emma's voice murmured seemingly from inside his ear. "Bob, grab your phone. Call 911. Confess that you killed me for the insurance money. Do it now." "What? No, The hood swallowed his head quickly this time, enveloping Bob's skull with force and speed. Only his nostrils peeked out the tightened opening. Emma's voice in his ear again, this time not soft, but a primal roar. "Bob, grab your fucking phone. Call 911. Tell them your name and confess to killing me for the life insurance money. Do it now. Right fucking now." The hood loosened again and opened just slightly. Bob sucked in air, panting desperately. Just his snotty nose peeked out of the hood. Under his nose, the hood pulled in and out as his wide-open mouth sought fresh air. His shoulders shivered as he slowly caught his breath. In a cowering voice, Bob muttered, "I can't move my arms to grab the phone." Immediately, one sleeve gave way. Emma's voice softened again, dripping with sweet honey. The hood slid back off his head. "Bob, when 911 answers, you say your name and tell them you killed your wife in the park, shot her twice. Twice in the chest? That's all you will say? Do you understand, Bob?" Bob stared at his phone but said nothing. His panting had slowed down a bit. Emma's sweet voice continued. "You will acknowledge what I'm telling you, Bob. Here's what's behind door number 2, if you don't, my dear husband. With this hoodie, I will twist your arms right off your body. Off as in gory shoulder stumps, spewing blood, Bob. An ugly way to go, even worse than what you picked for me. In fact, part of me hopes you choose this option, my dear. It won't kill you immediately, but you'll bleed out pretty damn quick, won't you, Bob? I would bet on less than a minute, and what an uncomfortable minute it will be. Also very messy." Bob sagged his head a bit, utterly terrified and confused. He scanned the room quickly, but he didn't have the strength to even move the arm that seemed to be epoxied to his body. And the thought of the hood smothering him more rendered him defeated. He slowly reached for his phone with his free hand. "Make it sound convincing, Bob. Short, to the point, and hang up. Show off those acting skills." Bob's finger tapped the 3 numbers and waited. 911, what's your emergency?" Bob followed her demands to the letter and hung up. "She said the police are coming," he mumbled. "Okay, Bob, you're going to write a confession too. Don't worry, it will be short and sweet as well. Get up and go to the kitchen." When the police arrived, they found Bob dead at the kitchen table with both wrists sliced wide open, almost to the bone. Blood blanketed the table and the floor, and Bob, the hoodie he wore, was soaked in red. On his left inner forearm were carved the words, "I killed Emma." 3 months later, as the secondary beneficiary for both Emma's and Bob's policies, Amy received the Highstone Mutual Life Insurance payout. She immediately ordered a beautiful granite tombstone worthy of her sister. 6 months later, as the autumn leaves were turning colors, Amy showed up at Emma's grave like she had every week since her sister was buried. The temporary aluminum plaque adorning the grave had finally been replaced by an elaborate headstone. Amy dropped to her knees and placed a bouquet of flowers on the ground beneath the new monument and read the epitaph she had requested to be carved under Emma's name. "Beloved sister, mentor, best friend, legend. The most badass spirit I've ever known. See you on the other side." A car door smacked shut and someone approached Amy from behind. She turned to greet Bob's girlfriend with a grin. This epitaph is classic, Amy. Some of your best work, said the woman. You look good for a dead chick, Emma. It's tough to get used to that face, though. At least she's younger than I was, baby sister. I'm younger than you now. She was one rotten bitch with some awful timing, huh? Well, it turned out to be a 2-for-1 special that night, baby sister. I might have been dead at the time, but to quote my tombstone, I turned out to be one badass spirit.